And now I don't have time to go over this in detail, but I'm going to try to just scratch the surface of this topic and give some highlights on it. And as far as we can tell, the rapture of the church is the next major prophetic event that we are looking for. And I say as far as we can tell for this reason. Certain things take place, and we're still here. Let me just say, I will change my eschatology view. Pastor, you're not dogmatic on eschatology? No, I'm dogmatic on a lot of things. If you know me, I believe doctrine really, really matters. And I am wholeheartedly a pre-tribulation pastor, teacher, and believer. Wholeheartedly. I don't think that means that we escape trouble. I don't think that means that it couldn't get really, really ugly for us before the rapture. So don't misunderstand me. We could face great trouble. But too many scriptures lead me to believe that we will be raptured before the great tribulation. But here's the thing about prophecy. Good men of God started to change their eschatology because they hadn't seen Israel come into the land. Were they less Christian than we are? Were they less saved than we are? Absolutely not. I once heard a really good pastor say, prophecy can only be dogmatic in the rear view mirror. You can only be dogmatic about what has taken place when it comes to prophecy. That doesn't mean that I don't wholeheartedly believe, but dogma means we divide over these things. We stand our ground firm and say, if you do not believe in the virgin birth, that is heresy, and you are wrong. But if you do not believe in pre-tribulation, that is not heresy, I think you're wrong. Does that make sense? We're not dogmatic about it, but I do think you're wrong. I believe we will be raptured. I believe we will be raptured. The word rapture is from a Latin word, rapio, which I'm probably not pronouncing right, which means to seize or snatch away, and it's derived from the words caught up in 1 Thessalonians 4:17, and that happens to be one of the quintessential verses speaking of the rapture. But if you noticed, there were some hints of the rapture in some of the verses I've already read. Some hints of the rapture. Not as clear as this one, though. 1 Thessalonians 4:17, he says, "Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Lord." This event, the rapture, it is placed in the book of Revelation after the church age, and we find that in Revelations 1, 2, and 3. See, Revelations 1, 2, and 3 are letters to the church. Just like Old Testament, there was a present-day meaning or a present-day prophetic event, and there was a future meaning and a future prophetic event. We also see that in the New Testament. We see that in the words of Jesus, and we also see that in Revelation. Revelations 1, 2, and 3, they are letters to the church, but it is also speaking of the church ages. There are 7 church ages, and I believe we are living in the 7th. What that doesn't necessarily mean is that the one has passed away and the first church age, that there's not a church like that today. See, there's layers, and I believe there are at least 3 layers in this understanding. There were 7 churches that 7 letters were written to by Jesus when that happened. And each of those churches God had a word for. Then there are 7 church ages, different, the churches going through different things and acting in different ways throughout history. But there seems to be, to some degree, 7 kinds of churches. And those churches exist today. Mostly remnants of the age that they were born in, right? That they come from. But they continue on. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand that? Go back and read Revelations 1, 2, and 3, and just ponder it in that way, and it'll make a lot of sense. But the rapture takes place in Revelation right after the church age, before the tribulation. We read in Revelation 4:1, after these things. Church age, chapters 1, 2, and 3, concluded. After these things, the Greek word is metatauta. And it means the completion of these things, moving on to something new. After these things, I looked up, this is John, and behold, a door standing open in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet, right? The trump will sound, will be caught up, like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, come up here, snatch away. This is a picture of the rapture. John is raptured and brought up to heaven after the church age and before anything of the tribulation is spoken of. That's just one of the things that leads me to this conclusion. There are many. There are many. What we just read, he saves us from the wrath to come. Right? We are not going to go through the wrath of God. All of our wrath has been placed on Christ on the cross.